Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Oh, my goodness. Okay, so I'm so excited to be here. As a flex worker, and 1996, I guess, gives the date away, no, it just gives, 20 years away. That's all it does, right? It doesn't do anything else. It's fine. But that was a day, and please let me explain what I'm wearing, because clearly that is not good flex worker attire, right? Open-toed shoes and cutoffs, and the whole point was we were having a staff meeting explaining what not to wear when you're at work. And then they told me that I had received this Employee of the Month and took my picture, and I thought, I wonder if I still have that. So last night I found it, and that's who I am. So it's been a little bit of a process, I guess, these last 20 years. I've gotten to work with Casa in a number of different ways. I left Casa while I was getting my master's in counseling. So when I left, it was because I didn't have any way of getting counseling skills at the time. Now there's a behavioral health service and I would be able to stay, but I wasn't at the time. I was really grateful to maintain my contracts with healthy families and just lots of other ways that I've been connected over the years. So I have some really good dear friends. Terry, Bev, Joanne, Robin, I'm sure I'm missing people that I've known forever. And when Terry came and asked me, and Bev suggested that I be a keynote speaker, I thought, what? Kat the flex worker? What do you want her for? It's funny to think of our topic today, creating the life that you want, and being involved in all of the different ways that we are in self-care, in challenging anxieties and moving forward toward our dreams and looking back and going, oh, cool. I get to go back to where I really loved and talk about something I'm super passionate about and talk to people who inspire me. And I'm just super excited and grateful and humbled to be here today. So thank you so much for having me. Give me an idea, because I don't know a lot of faces. It's been a while since I've been around. That provide direct service? Ooh, look at all those hands. Administrative people? Direct care workers? What do you call you guys now? Staff?
We're nurses.
Nurses, right? The medical staff. People, where are your shelter folks? I heard the census was down, more people got to come today. Who else is represented today?
Foster care.
Foster care, thank you. I did though, so thank you all for what you do and how you contribute, because whether you're at a desk or you're direct service, you're making a huge difference. I love when I'm able to say that I'm ever connected with Casa de los Niños, because just the reputation and the agency, it carries a lot of weight to have that connection. So today we're talking about an amazing race. I love this concept. And this is just going to kind of play behind me to reinforce some of the things that we're talking about today. So subliminally, maybe we'll get some messages as well, because we have a very short time to talk about this. This is like a 3-day workshop that we're talking in 40 minutes. Do you feel that overwhelmed?
You can do it.
I can, thank you. Look at her, that's great. I have a cheerleader. What were you looking forward to today? What does this even mean to you? What do you want? Let me hear from you. You all have super fulfilling lives already, right?
Yeah.
Of course. But what's missing? What do we need to talk about? Tell me what you need. I can't hear you. Say more. More money. Okay, what else?
Time to travel.
We need some time to travel. What else?
More vacation time.
Self-care, more vacation time.
Work garden.
Work garden? I like that. What else? We just need to do some things differently. Do you feel like you have that ability right now, or do you feel like you're pretty strapped? Pretty strapped? I know that feeling for me is what I should say. When this kind of all came about, and the timing of it is incredible in terms of how all of this week is playing out, and what Terry was thinking when she asked me to come and talk about some of these things with you, is that 16 years ago, I was working at another mental health agency. I had a huge caseload. I was so tired. Does anyone relate? I couldn't catch up. I didn't have time for myself. And I was really, really depressed, really feeling like I couldn't take all of that. I really felt like I made a huge, huge mistake getting into counseling, especially after this was 3 years into my new profession, I thought, I can't go on like this anymore. I'm feeling like I'm losing me somehow. Does that resonate with you? So I decided I would quit counseling and go be a flight attendant. You could see that, right? Coffee, tea? And I went and interviewed with United Airlines and figured out that I could choose from one of 13 base cities, and I could move and I could make the life that I want. Of course, I'd get less money because seniority is what it is, and I could really only go where they sent me, but okay, I could be traveling. So I thought that was my plan. So the next thing I was, again, kind of a coincidence. Does anybody ever try to go to conferences just to get a break? It's not just me. I went to a conference that day. I needed a break. And what I thought I needed was some time management to make this all work. Can you relate to that? If I could just have 10 more hours a day, I could see like 10 more clients. And then I'd get all my paperwork done. And then I'd turn all my grants in and everything would be great. Wouldn't it be great? So I went to a time management conference. And it was for a planning company. You've probably heard of Franklin Covey planners. So 16 years ago, this week, I was sitting in there. I invited my mom to come with me because it was just kind of a fun day. So we're sitting there and I'm making all my plans and talking to her about what it's going to be like when I don't live here anymore because I have to go create my life. I have to go have a job that makes me travel, right? And we're figuring out all these details and looking for cameras and pocket PCs and ways to pocket PCs, right? That's how old it was. Ways to be in communication when I'm not there. And suddenly the presentation starts. The first thing he says is, we can't manage time. I'm sorry, what? That's what I'm here for today. I want to manage my time better. We can't manage time. What does he mean? Does that hit you guys? Do you know what he was talking about before he said the next line? We can only manage priorities. Oh, that's different. That's different. I had gotten pretty far away from my priorities. And that's what I learned that day. I didn't learn about that planner. I didn't learn about time management. I mean, I learned how to use it, and I got one, and it was fabulous. But still, that wasn't the point of that day. The point was really reflecting and sitting with myself and my values and my principles and deciding if my life reflects that. It didn't. I wasn't making choices for my benefit. I felt trapped. I felt pretty much like a victim of my schedule, my income, my time off, all of those things. Does anybody relate to that? I know I see a couple hands in the back. I'm like, I know we're at a work conference, so we're not about this job, of course, but sometimes you can just feel kind of overwhelmed and like you can't do it all. Everybody needs something from you all the time. Does that part resonate? I feel like I'm reacting to things all day long. Emails, family needs, things like that, friends, whatever it might be. So there's not a lot of focused energy on me, on self, on what are we doing and how are we going to go about this. So I love that I'm considering this blurb this morning, we all want a fulfilling life, the ability to follow our dreams. How do we find it? Well, how do we know if we don't sit and reflect and give ourselves space to think about those things? That's all that day was for me, was sitting down in a required time space where someone said, write down what's important to you. Oh, write down what you care about. Write down the things that really bring you joy. Write down when you feel the most alive. Well, that seems simple, but it turned a switch that day. Of course I could have the life that I want. Of course I could have the life that I want. I just wasn't letting myself have the life I wanted yet. Was I traveling the world? No. Did I want to? Yep. And so much so that I was about to ditch my career and go be a flight attendant and hope that in a few years I might work in a place that I wanted to go. That was kind of crazy now that I look at it. But when you think of the big picture, I was waiting for someone else to give me structure, right? That job would have made me travel. It would have been my reason. I get to have my reason by myself. That's what I learned that day. And it seems so obvious, right? Like this is not rocket science. Nothing that we talk about today will be. Just full disclosure. But they're things that we don't do. They're things that we're not consistent with. They're things that we don't take time for and make time for. And that's what we're talking about today. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm certainly going to share a lot of ideas and options and science to some of it to be able to give you more of what you want out of your life. And you get to decide from this point forward. You get to switch your light on. You get to decide how you bring more of what you love into every single day. Does that make sense? Or does that seem like kind of crazy? Let me hear from you. It makes sense. This is a test. That actually reminds me, one of the things I'm super excited about lately is the way that your body can help change your mind. And again, not rocket science, but I just, if you guys do TED Talks, I love TED Talks. TED Talks are my favorite. And Amy Cuddy wrote a book called Presence after she gave her TED Talk about how your body language can change how you feel and how you are and how you interact and how you show up. Bye-bye. I don't know what happened. I don't think so, maybe. Hello? Hello, Governor. Trying to keep me tied down. Look at you. I'm gonna go way over here then. How far can I go? Ah, how you doing? So, gracious, I lost my train of thought. Thank you, that would help. Being able to show up differently because your body responds to how you are interacting with the world. So, so much science about it. And so much that can help so many different populations. I work a lot with trauma and abuse victims and survivors, thank you. I'm thinking of my old language here, but being able to really do something that chemically changes the inside of you so that you can show up and be different in the moment would change how you interact all the time, right? With everybody. So I'm gonna have to put this thing down to show you my new favorite thing. I do it at the top of every hour because I have a reminder to do it on my phone. I'll show you later. Full disclosure, like I said. It's the Wonder Woman pose. And you hold it for 2 minutes. And you just expand. And you let that stress melt away. You own your space. You feel powerful. Yeah. 2 minutes. Seems like a long time because we're about 10 seconds in, right? I'm not going to do the whole 2 minutes, don't worry. But I love that idea. I love that gentle nudge toward feeling better about myself and toward feeling better in general. Boy, you should have seen how many times I did it yesterday getting ready for today because there was some serious self-talk going on yesterday. So stop and do a power pose, stretch, take a deep breath. You know, again, these are things we tell everybody else to do. Am I right? Especially behavioral health workers. I hope you're telling people to do that. We all need to be doing this. I wish we had a curriculum for children to understand how to take care of themselves in the moment, how to expand into what they needed, how their posture can make them feel better. So, that being said, there's so many different things that we can do, and I know I put since we have so, kind of a squished amount of time, I want to be able to make this useful. And so the handout is pretty dense, but you've got something there to be able to go from. And I tried to really stay close to what the blurb said, right? If that's what you're here for today, and I know this wasn't a chosen breakout session, but it should at least be what we're talking about, that we want a fulfilling life. We want an amazing race. And it seems elusive to many, many people. If you look online or do a search in just Amazon books, like finding your life's purpose, there's a huge market. Because it's a challenge to be able to figure that out or to trust it if you do figure it out or to not talk yourself out of it if you do figure it out. So what I've done is to try to compile some thoughts for you if you were to sit. And I wish I had more time for. We started out maybe more vacation, more gardening. What else could you use with your time if you knew you wouldn't fail? Are we talking today? I don't know. Let me put it a different way. Does anybody here have a big dream that they want to share or not? Is there anyone here that's looking to see what their next big thing is? Anyone? Ooh, got a hand, yes.
I'm gonna retire and move to Mexico.
Woo, retire and move to Mexico. Very nice. And how do you feel about that?
Great.
Fantastic. Did you decide already?
Well, kind of.
Yeah? Is your plan in motion?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So was there anything that you had to work through to be able to let yourself do that? Was it easy? Was it scary at all?
Yeah, I think it still is. I think it still is because we haven't, we have to give up a lot of material things in the United States, and that's kind of a frightening thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Congratulations. That's, I think, a good place.
Next year if it works.
Say that? Say that again?
I said I'll let you know next year if it works.
Probably via satellite. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways that we can talk ourselves in and out of things. Well, actually, just this week I had somebody come in, a client, that said she's going to, and she almost stopped talking. By July 1st, she's gonna. I said, what's the rest of that sentence? Never mind. And she's curling back up into herself, right? I say, hang on now, this confidential space, this is a safe space we have here. What's that was about to come out of your mouth? By July 1st, I'm gonna take singing lessons. Wow, very cool. She's wanted to do that for a really long time. And in the very next sentence, she said, she's gonna suck. Yay! So all of us do that, right? Oh my gosh, it's so scary. We'll be noticed. People will say something, or someone will say, who are you to be able to do that? Who do you think you are? Why would you do that? Don't you want to be responsible? You can't be an artist. You can't sing. On and on and on, clearly, right? Our brains are much faster than I can keep up with verbally. That was one of the ways that I figured some of this, my part, like I said, my part out, because mine is not a special story. It's just a story that opened my eyes to the fact that I wanted something big. I wanted something bigger, and for me that was, I wanted to be free and I wanted to travel, and I thought someone else had to create that for me and I had to have some structure. But okay, moved past that day, let go of all those ideas of trying to figure out which home base I would be at, because there are compromises, aren't there? What's your name going to Mexico, lady?
Jamie.
Jamie. Jamie had to wrestle with a bunch of stuff, just like we all do, but can I use your example? Because you just said you'd had to figure out what's gonna stay, what's gonna go. Life is gonna be different. There's gonna be consequences. There's gonna be changes that you have to weigh out the difference for, right? I was weighing out, was it worth leaving my family and all my friends to have a job in a different city so that I could fly everywhere thinking that I was having this exciting life, which of course it would be, but it wasn't what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to go where I wanted to go, when I wanted to go, how I wanted to go, right? So being able to recognize that we have choices. We have to weigh things out. We have choices. But how many times have you either heard or said, I can't because? I can't do that because then I'd have to sell my car. I can't do that because then I'd make less money. I'd love to be a professional singer, but I have to keep my day job. You don't have to. You could figure out a different way. The only reason I'm talking about this is to be able to be more empowered in the way that we speak to ourselves. You can choose. You can choose whatever you like. There's different realities that come with each of those things. Is that fair to say? You get to decide if you want to deal with that reality or not. Another really cool, exciting moment in my life was when I got super extra tired and burned out. Ugh, don't miss those days. I really needed to leave the place that I was working. There was some bad stuff going on. And Miss Joanne contacted me for PCD classes, doing the divorce education classes. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how did I even get here? What's this gonna be? How can that work? It was a lot less, but it was enough. I asked my husband, how much money do we need for me not to be crazy in the brain anymore? And it was a pretty low number because we figured it out. It was not worth my sanity anymore. You've probably gotten to places where something like that is in the balance. You can't suffer that much anymore. And again, it's not that job that was doing it to me, but I was participating. I was allowing those things. I wasn't creating boundaries or lifestyles that I was capable of doing. I was participating in politics and things that I'm so glad not to be having to do anymore or getting to do. But that's what I mean, constantly checking your language. We get to go to work. We don't have to. We agreed to take jobs. We agreed to have house payments. We don't have to pay our bills. We get to. Doesn't that sound kind of crazy in today's society, right? I mean, all right, who's with me? Does it sound right? Or are you like, who's the crazy lady that you guys invited over? So it's hard, especially in this society. The way that we talk is kind of a big deal. Most of the things we talk about, if you notice, is complaining. Do you guys feel that too? Oh my God, it's so hot. Oh, I can't wait till Friday. Just seems like that's really where our energy goes. What about like something uplifting? Anyone? How would you start a conversation with something not negative, even neutral? Yeah.
What a great day to whatever you're doing.
What a great day to be here and powerful and empowered with our language. I sometimes wonder, and it's okay with me, I sometimes wonder though if when things get too squishy, I don't know what your words are, new agey, too counseling-y, people like check out. I think that's part of our society that says you're supposed to earn money and have more and do more and work your tushy off and no, you're not allowed to go on vacation because you should be at work, because you should be responsible. And all of those little things, they all live back here for me. Do you guys ever have any self-critics back there in the back of your mind? I've turned mine into a Muppet. He's super cute. He's like, these guys, none of them know who you are, none of them care. Shh, it's fine, I'm doing good, I got this. No, really, you're freaking out, aren't you? No, I'm good. Talking back to them, hey, yeah, I know that there's a lot of fears, there's a lot of stresses, there's a lot of expectations. Standing up to those might even create stress. So part of my story, again, when I went to that day-long training was, get a little check on time here, was that I decided, that's a big word. Hold on to that word for today, decide. Make the choice, decide for yourself that something's gonna be different. So that day I decided that I had to make myself travel. I had to create this. I had to stop letting this be my life. And I decided that I would make myself go to 33 countries by the time I was 33 years old. And I was just on the edge of 30 at that point. So that felt a little frightening, stretching a little bit. And that was okay with me. I was really excited about it. But when I talk to people about it, they're like, oh my God, really? How are you gonna do that? Don't you have a job? Like, yeah. You don't have money for that? How are you gonna? I wish I could do that. I wish I could have money for like that. Like, you feel the energy? Have you gotten that before? When you put your heart out there, you say, hey, I'm really excited about something, like, must be nice. Okay, well, it wasn't all that glamorous, but okay. Like, it's just what people make of, what people say, what people turn in terms of story about what you're experiencing. Who is that about? Anybody? Is that about you? I love a quote that I read in the Four Agreements that I'm new to. I didn't know. Is it Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz? Does anybody know this book? Oh, such a good book. I must say several times a day, no lie, this phrase, what other people do and what other people say is only about them, especially when it's directed at me. Because then I start believing, they're saying this to me, oh my gosh, I'm a horrible person. Who am I to be able to travel? You're right, I should go get another job. I need another job, and I need more stress because they need me to be somebody for them. No, thank you. I'm gonna go travel. I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna do something every single day to figure out how to get my goal because it's important to me. When I sat down and decided what my principles are, travel excites me. Meeting new people excites me. Being adventurous excites me. I grew up in the military. I don't know if that's part of it or not, but I don't know a stranger, and I love that. And you have a life goal, you want to go after it, all you got to do is start, right? Start somewhere. So part of this day is not only sitting down and reflecting and going through some of these questions on the top here because they are the tip of the iceberg in terms of ways that you might be talked to or talk to yourself about these these issues, right? Who do you think you are? Shouldn't you be more responsible? Those kinds of things. Then once you decide that you're going to do something, keep it in front of you. Keep it visual. Keep it all the time in your mind so that you're not losing ground on what it is that you say you want. If you say you want it, do something with it. Fair? To me, it's like if we're going to say something over and over and over and we're never going to do anything about it, isn't that a bit defeating? To me, that's defeating. If you're going to say it, do something. Maybe not everyone is going to try and go to 33 countries in 33 years. That's fine. That was my goal. That's about me. Like if you want to go do whatever you're going to do, maybe you do it for 10 minutes today. Maybe you just Google what the cost would be. Maybe you just figure out if there's someone out there that's already doing the thing you're interested in doing. That's something. That's a path. That's a step. So there isn't a good enough reason, is there, for us to not have a life that inspires us? Or at least more of a life that inspires us? I'm sure there's things that I'd rather not do in my day, right? Amen? At least be real. But I do make sure to make time every day for the things that I say are important. Now, I'll get really counselor-y on you. What should be the most important thing to me? Yeah. What's the last thing on everybody's list? That's what we're talking about. If we don't decide, if we don't commit to spend time doing these things, we won't. We don't have to. We're too busy giving to everybody else that needs something from us, right? And that's a lovely thing. I'm glad for people in the world that do that and that come from that space. And I'm glad that I have that energy. And I'm glad that I want to deplete myself for people. But guess what? I don't have anything left to give after that. Does anyone else feel that? I know I'm asking for a lot of amens today. I just want to dance. Sorry, let me just take a little dance break. That part that just doesn't get recognized, doesn't get any energy, doesn't get filled back up, can't fill other people's cups. So even though it's a backwards way of saying it, and I especially note this when I'm working with someone in counseling, if they would do it for somebody else, but not do it for them, what are you going to have left to give those other people? So, okay, great. I want you to take care of yourself so that you are a better helper to other people. Fine. Great. If that's your motivation, go for it. Because we can't be useful to people if we're not taking care of ourselves. I have this really funny story that, well, I think is funny. A friend of mine just would not get a helmet for her bicycle. She was making me crazy because she was not being safe. You have to be safe with your helmet. And she said, I don't have money. I don't have money for it. I don't have money. I said, fine, okay. And I don't know, a little bit later, that same day, do you have $20? I can't pay my electric. She's like, oh my God, yeah, here. Like, here, go buy yourself a helmet. Just, you have it, you do have it, but you're not making the choice for yourself. That's what's happening. Just own that. All of us get so much more empowered when we can just own our decisions, own our choices, own the fact that we have much more invested, much more control over our lives than we will admit. We are choosing what we are willing to have or not have as a result of all the different situations we're weighing out. And that's fine, but be okay with it. Otherwise, you're just toiling over things and feeling defeated and getting smaller and smaller, thinking that everyone else is in charge of your life, including your bills, and shake that off. Go have fun. Use that energy somewhere else. Goodness. I want to check here on our, yeah, it's going just as fast as I thought it would. How are we doing so far? Is this what you wanted? Is this hitting you? Is there something that you want to say? Let me hear from you. We've got some time left. Anyone? Does anyone disagree? I always like those. Does anyone see a big problem with trying to own your life differently, do things differently? Why we wouldn't? Where's my devil's advocates in the room?
In the brochure, it talks about fear a little bit. I'm more interested in how to overcome fear.
Okay. So having fear is slowing yourself down, is making yourself small, is telling yourself you can't do it, is telling yourself you're not allowed, is telling yourself all of those things. So when we go through and have this epiphany that what I really want is a life filled with family and friends and travel and gardening and Mexico. But I think, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have the comforts around me. Those comforts are what I'm fearful of losing, right? Those changes are what I'm afraid to face. Like when I'm thinking about leaving this nice, comfy life I have to go move to be a flight attendant, it was terrifying. So I had to weigh whether or not I was more scared of doing that or holding on to the dream that I had. And at the time, I was really steering toward that. What are ways that you think fear gets in your way?
In loving people.
In loving people. Say more.
Putting yourself out, being extra kind to people, and maybe you're not going to get it back.
Yeah, maybe you're not going to get it back. That's really scary. And then we go into that thought process.
How do you overcome that and move towards more compassion?
So there's a process even in that to be able to say, first of all, what if I don't get that love back, right? That's the gut-wrenching thought that gets us started. So what do we make that mean? And I don't want to focus completely on you, right? Go away, lady. But if I make that mean that I am not good enough, if I make that mean that I'm not worthy, if I make that mean that they only like people that have XYZ, I make that mean something about myself, typically, if I'm having some suffering about it, that I get to work through differently. Because whether or not that person is going to give me back the love that I'm giving them is about them. The only person I'm in charge of is me, and how I'm going to interact, and how I'm going to show up, and how I'm going to be okay, no matter what. That's the goal. Tons of anxiety would come up there though, right? Tons of messages about who you are and whether you're worthy and whether, like I said, this is the tip of the iceberg. You guys can fill in the blanks much faster than me. Learning to tolerate that anxiety, that is strength. That is truth. That's being able to really flex a muscle into being more of who you want to be. Do you want to, previous relationships with my younger self, I morphed into all kinds of different people. I was not me. I didn't know who I was. But this person liked this behavior and this activity and this look. I can do that. Does that sound like a similar story? I can be that. I can choose me. But that's not being strong. That's not being who I am. It was still a choice, and it was a fine choice. But once I knew better about what I wanted and my worth, and I wrestled with some of those reasons why this other person wasn't meeting me where I was putting it out, then I got to show up a little bit differently. I got to experience a different kind of relationship, a different kind of connection that's true, that's authentic, that's someone wants to be with me, not their version of me. So I love that question. We could talk for days on any of these things, but the fear is really, I think, in any of these topics that we bring up, it's that, I used to call it with kids the uh-oh feeling. So when you get stressed, when you get hurt, do you feel it in your body? When you have that initial jolt, where? Point, show me where you feel your stress. Shoulders. I get my belly, shoulders. Yeah. Oh, she's got the whole thing going and she's doing a body scan. It's terrifying. And it's not the truth. And then we go on and on and on in hours of more presentations and therapy. Yes?
What happens to you, in your body, your life, when you aren't choosing to be yourself?
Ooh, yeah.
And what are some signs, symptoms that you notice when you're not doing it?
I bet you guys have answers to this. What are some signs, symptoms, feelings? What happens when you're not paying attention to yourself, when you're not giving yourself this care, when you're not listening to yourself? I feel really resentful. I'm doing stuff I don't want to be doing for people I don't want to be doing it for. Exhausted. What else? How do you know? We have symptoms, don't we? Oh, my face gets too tight. And my body decides to expel everything sometimes because I get super scared. Just everything out. Okay, then. This is a safe space, right? So do you feel like you know when you're stressed? Can I see a real show of hands? Do you feel that you know when you are stressed? Is there anyone that does not know when they're stressed? I saw some hands not go up. I'm not going to call on you. It's uncomfortable. It's tight. I mean, yesterday when I was doing my power poses, I was trying everything I could to get those shoulders to go down. Like, my brain is telling me I do not deserve to be here. That's what's going on. I know that. But guess what? I do. And even if I don't, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. That's another piece of the fear-based stuff. Like, I can be scared for days, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be there. I'm going to do my best. That's all I can do. And I'm grateful for that. Like this morning, all I can do as of this morning when I'm driving here and, everything all happens. Okay, do you guys talk to yourself? I was thinking this is kind of fun. I tried to share it to my husband. He didn't really comprehend what I was talking about. But I'm looking in the mirror today. I hardly ever wear makeup. So I'm like trying to do makeup and I'm like, you got this. You're going to be fine. It's okay. You got this. And I'm like, yeah, you got this. You got this all over your eye. What's going on? So I'm like kind of giggling with myself and talking through it. And I'm thinking, why do we take ourselves so seriously? Gracious, take a break. Stretch. Do your power pose. You want to starfish it out, do it. Man, I dance. And I don't care anymore. I just don't care. I'm not invested, is a better way of saying it. I'm not invested in what other people think of me. I'm invested in my standards. Am I doing anything wrong on my standards? Nope. Get it then. That's right. So in the Denver airport on National Dance Day, I cracked it out. I was like, hi. And people just look at me, and some of them, you just see they want to dance. Like, why do we take ourselves so seriously? And no, that's not everybody's bag. It's mine. Just owning it. Just being real, being honest about it. One of my biggest fears going into the counseling profession was that I'm happy. Isn't that weird? I really, really work at being happy. Ooh, I want to show you guys some stuff before I totally run out of time. Oh, I have 10 minutes. I'm doing all right. Okay. Please hold. I have this poster. And those of you coming to the clutter workshop, you don't get to talk about any of this stuff because this is from when I'm about 7. This motivational poster was on my fridge. What I lack in experience, I make up for in enthusiasm. I thought that's a pretty good life goal. I just took it on and made it mine and decided if someone else can do it, I can do it. Just because I saw this. Nobody told me. Well, my parents did. I had people encouraging me, of course, but this stuck with me. If I don't know how to, I will sure as heck figure out how to because I am enthusiastic. You might be able to tell. It's important to remind ourselves to do things and to honor who we are. And so going into the counseling profession, in my particular group of people that I was studying with, there was a real energy about the fact that I didn't have life experience. I didn't have a whole history of trauma. I didn't have a history. I had my history, and thankfully that's what I figured out through this process. I didn't have their history. That was about them putting that on me. I had to work through other things. I had other history that I then figured out how to own and honor. But what I'm saying about all of this is to let it just be true. Stop trying to be something that you're not. If I'm silly, I'm silly. And I love the fact that I can sit down in my office and the very first time that I'm meeting a client and say, you know what? I know I'm not for everybody. I really do. That's okay with me. But I'm not going to try and be something that I'm not. So if this energy works for you, great. It's not quite this big when I'm sitting with one person, but you know what I mean. Like, I want to be real. I want to be authentic. I want to show up in my life. I work at it. I do have what I'll show you at the end. Some lists. I'm really trying hard not to label that. Some ridiculous lists. Yeah, it's ridiculous as a label, so I have to not do that. Okay, self-talk through. Like, being able to own that differently was a very big deal for me. And that culminates in a constant reminder in my office of a picture of a cat. It's a black and white picture of a cat with sunglasses on. And it's just so unprofessional for a counselor, right? That's what I told myself. If you do that, people are not going to take you seriously. I've been called Pollyanna more times than I'd like to admit. And that's a great thing. Thankfully, I can see that now. There's a great quote that says, I don't sing because I'm happy. I don't sing because I'm happy. I'm happy because I sing. And that's exactly what we're talking about. How are you setting yourself up to have one step closer to that dream, to that lifestyle, to that daily existence, to that morning hour of gardening, perhaps, that will lift your spirits to get through the rest of the day? It doesn't have to be earth-shaking. Well, I didn't even mean that. That was kind of a pun. It doesn't have to be huge. But something, anything, some energy toward you, some energy for you and about you. Can you think of one thing that you can do differently, that you could commit to? Can I see you nod if yes? Does this seem doable? Because that's really the point. The day that I went to that training, what he said was, commit. Commit. I will commit to myself. I will plan 2 long-range goals to commit to in the next 21 days. This was the training. So he wants us to do that, right? That's where I came up with my long-range goal. Commit. Stop saying that you don't have time. Make time. Yeah, I kind of want to make these go a little bit faster because I want to talk about what it might look like. I just made that up. What do you think? Like, I want to stick my name on one of these. Other people do it. Why can't I? That's the whole point, right? Why not? Why can't I have that? So there's my attempt. Be curious about the things that come up in your process when you're sitting with some of this stuff, when you're fearful of making a choice, when you're telling yourself you can't, when you have not a good day. You're not always going to be on, right? You're not always going to be checked in. This is actually something really funny because I'm always talking about being present and aware and compassionate and non-judgmental and, you know, all those great counselor-y things. So I'm driving home from my office just last week. I cracked myself up because I'm driving down Pima and somebody in the left turn lane turns left in front of all the green cars that are going to go. In front of them. And I'm like, oh, what? Music's up. I'm having a great day. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm looking around to see, did anybody see this? Yeah, nobody saw that because I was actually the problem. I looked in my rearview mirror, lights behind me. Not for me, but I needed to get out of the way, which is what he did. So I was too busy focusing on what he was doing wrong than getting out of the way for the ambulance that was behind me. Got it. Okay, right, back to me. Eyes on my own paper. So you're not always going to be on. Be kind to yourself. Trust that you know what you need to know now. Trust that you're doing your best job today with the skills that you have, the resources you have, the energy level that you have. Be kind to yourself. Be curious, like I said, not judgmental when you start landing on some of these things. Teach yourself how to ask, how come? I'm really scared to be a part of a relationship. How come? I'm scared they won't give it back to me. How come? You can ask yourself almost 20 times in a row and lead down where all of this energy might be coming from that's stopping you from doing the thing that you're doing or you want to do. How come? And I like how come better than why. Why sounds like there's an answer. We need to find the answer. So, wow, this is working out really good timing. Have the life that you want. Make the life that you want. This is what I feel like when I'm in this life. It's coming, I don't know. That's me. Dad wanted to go skydiving for his 72nd birthday. So that's what we did. I want to feel like that more often. I want to feel like I really am involved in my life. So that's my timer to tell me we have 5 minutes, so we're doing great. But these are just ways that I try to show up differently. I don't let myself off the hook. This is my to-do list. That's my morning routine there. And this is only recent, but I decided that I would have a morning routine, that I would stop telling myself I don't have time to journal. And journaling, nobody likes to journal, do they? You know what I realized? Journaling is just making yourself sit down with yourself. Be your friend. Spend time with yourself. Get to know yourself. That's all it is. So even if you just write 3 things that you're grateful for, you've taken a few minutes for yourself. So I have this morning routine. You can see it's the top thing on my list every day. I have coffee, I journal, I read. It's pretty specific. That's why I called it ridiculous, but I'm not going to call it that. It's just my list. Because really, we get so much stuff in our life, so much stuff that we're reacting to, that I sometimes go, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing right now? Right, I haven't done my journaling yet. I'm starting this new Cobra pose thing. It's not working quite yet, but I'll get there. I added that. It's a very good stress reliever, though, I'm learning. So this is really what it looks like. I remind myself to drink water. Who should have to do that? That's what I hear in my head. Really? You can't remember to drink water? No, sometimes I don't. I need myself to show up and do all these things that I say are healthy, that by the end of the day I go, oh man, I didn't drink enough water. Half the time I miss lunch. Anybody work through lunch and not even realize it? I'm like, no wonder I'm all squirrely brained. I haven't eaten anything. Oh, talk about self-care. So yeah, I got very specific. When I'm working on something that needs focused energy, I use a 10-minute timer to keep me going. Hey, are you on task? Are you on task? I have an hourly timer where I do my pose now. That's only since this week. You would be amazed at how much better I feel in between sessions just by doing that. If I have a minute, I can take a deep breath. I can check in with, hey, am I on track with how I wanted today to go? That's my screensaver. Just a reminder that all we need to do is start. That's my computer screen. Down here it says, you're powerful. Today I choose to dream bigger. What other people think of me is none of my business. It's not my problem. So I'm showing you these just because I need reminders. I think we all need reminders. I think if we let ourselves off the hook, we can just slide through life in a way that feels kind of comfortable, but, oh, that's my bathroom. You're gonna love this. I have a grease pencil in my shower, and I write notes to myself. I get my best ideas in the shower, though, am I wrong? Like, I need a grease pencil just to write stuff down. I get great ideas in there. So I go with it, what the heck? This is something called the 5-minute journal. If you don't have time to journal, even if you just did this, you can Google it. Just copying out the questions, I put it in an online journal app that I use. Just answering these. 3 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at night. Look what you're doing. You're planning, you're showing gratitude, you're affirming who you are and where you're at with your values and your principles. And then at the end of the day, what happened that was great today? What could have been better? Like, all of these things are exactly what we did in that session that changed how I see my life. And all we need to do is give ourselves time to have that. See, my alarm goes off every hour to have my power pose now. I remind myself. There's journals out there to help you reach your goals. You say you want something in 100 days, that's the Freedom Journal. You know what I said I wanted to be? Oh my God, I've never said it out loud. My goal was to establish myself as a wellness expert with an online presence. Suddenly, Ms. Terry Lamb comes and asks me if I will present at a wellness conference. I'm on day 81. Not bad. I said I'd do it in 100 days. If the website's up in 20 days, you'll see it. And then I have, again, reminders, little nudges, little things that you can do. What's the smallest step that you can do towards your goal? And I mean this very literally. I read a book called The Kaizen Way, with the very tiniest step that you can take in the direction of your life. If someone wanted to exercise more, what's the tiniest step they could take? Put their shoes on. That's it. Goal achieved, right? What's the tiniest step you can take? Mine is, can I meditate for 1 minute? 1 minute. Do I have 1 minute in my day that I can give myself? Yes. And then this guy shows up. And he says, is now a good time? He sends me a text throughout the day. He says, is now a good time to refresh your batteries? No. Swipe right. Usually yes. Just sit for a second. You'd be amazed at how much more centered you are, and how much more present, and again, how much more you have to give the world. Because what you have to offer the world is so important. Those are some of the checklist things. Oh, I did put it up there. See, I wasn't lying. 19 days and counting. Success. So, this is what I want everyone to be thinking about. You are a child of God. That might not be the right word for everybody. You are an important being. You are a light. Fuel your light so that it can shine. Fuel yourself so that you can do more of the things that you want to do. And thank you so very much for having me here today.
You know, at
the beginning,